Welcome back to Festival Fishbowl, or Festival Fishbowl, if you tell me little. This is Jeff Green. He's doing shows as a fringe performer.
Yes.
What a great intro.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Hey man, how's things?
Oh, very, very good, thanks.
Once again, you come to Adelaide in a heat wave. And coping better this time, or not so much?
Yeah, well, the first time I came, it was 40 degrees for 15 days on the trot. They call it pond-killing weather.
Yes.
Right, it was terrifying. And it's, but I live here now. It's not in Adelaide.
But you live in Melbourne.
I live in Melbourne, so I'm used to the 37, 39. I just walk a bit slower, and I don't exert myself. And I'm in the upstairs room here at 8:30, which is air conditioned.
Yes.
Thank God we're not in a tent.
Do you know that we've got a tarp over here, and that air conditioner throws all the hot air from upstairs right into this room.
It felt warm when I came in.
It is warm.
Yeah. Can I just say, right, because you've had Paul McDermott on the show, haven't
Yes.
you? I've got a connection with Paul McDermott and Tommy Little. You won't be able to guess what they are. Well, I'll explain what. My first ever TV show, where I hosted, Doug Anthony All-Stars were my special guests.
Wow.
In 1991, yes. And I've seen Paul McDermott in his pyjamas. And you don't get to see Paul McDermott in his pyjamas very often,
No.
unless you get very close to him. But the other way to do it is, which is how I achieved it, is to go to your room after the show with your friends and smoke in the room, set the fire alarms off at 3 o'clock in the morning. Everyone has to leave the hotel, and there was Paul, Tim and Richard in their pyjamas, and me, I was the only person fully clothed, so everyone knew it was me that set the smoke off. And
wow.
yeah, and they were there, and I never thought the Doug Anthony All-Stars would wear pyjamas. I thought they'd sleep naked or,
Or in their costume.
Yeah, well, they...
Just with the nightcap.
That costume was the smelliest costume. I
heard
stood
this.
next to them, and I went, God, you guys stink. This is not off the record, or this is on the record. And they went, yeah, they have a little thing that they never wash their costumes. And so they'd had them costumes for years, and beer had been thrown on them, and people had vomited on them, and they probably vomited on each other, and and they just festered. So they were once smelt, never forgotten. Now the connection I have with Tommy Little is, me and Tommy have the same birthday.
Ah.
Me, Tommy, and Simon Mon-Fri are all Feb 23rd.
Very nice.
There we go.
So you've just had a birthday. Correct.
And David
Fact.
and I spent a lovely time in Indonesia and
We did.
Kuala Lumpur together.
We toured.
what?
We went to the places that had the fish eat the dead skin off our feet.
Oh, you went to that.
Well, we went to it. I don't think did I have it?
No.
Okay.
You pointed and giggled and laughed at me while I was having it. Going, I can't believe you handed money over for that experience.
Was it good?
It was lovely. If anyone, KL is really coming along. Asia's coming along in terms of its comedy development hugely. And have you done India yet, Jeff?
I've never played India. It's funny you get to play all over the world, but no, not played India. Mumbai, there's the Comedy Store in Mumbai. Yeah, but I think I've only played Kuala Lumpur, Indonesia, and in fact I was in Beijing a couple of weeks ago where, with all the smog and everything. That seems to be the life of a comedian these days. Adelaide, Beijing.
Yeah, the two big ones.
Yes.
What were the punters like? Was it a good experience, Beijing?
Beijing was full of Australian High Commissioners
Ugh.
and expats and stuff, and the smog was awful. It felt like that sort of acidic aluminium.
All right, so you can literally taste it.
Oh, yeah. It's awful. And I felt very sorry for the people of Beijing because it's not their fault. But they're pleased to see you. Yeah.
Apparently, when you do the Indian comedies, Mumbai, it's their quiet nights is a dream number of people for an Aussie comic. That on a quiet night they have 400 in.
You're right.
And it's just this the vast number of people. We just can't get our heads around it until you see it.
Yeah. Anyway, what else would you like to ask me?
He's sick of that question. We should.
Yeah, no, we're moving on.
So you're back here in Adelaide again, doing a new show.
Yeah,
this
a
one
new
is
show.
About...
This show is called. It's in Adelaide. You've always got to come up with the title. So Adelaide got the old title. The real title is Leaping Off the Bell Curve. When I take it to Edinburgh, it's going to be called Risk and Reward. But it's basically a show all about the question I get asked the most of all, which is how do you get from being a chemical engineer, which is how I trained, what I did at university, to being a stand-up comedian. So I go through all the process of university and leaving university and going for my first gig, which was I set the scene in 1982 when I went to university, which is basically Down Under was number one. What's his name? Who was Malcolm Fraser was Prime Minister, Thatcher, and then I take it all the way through. My first gig in 1987 when I Should Be So Lucky Kylie Minogue was in the charts. So just to set people's minds, and then I talk about how I wrote my first material. I explain how I've been booed off, what it feels like, what to do when you're being booed. I explain the greatest moment in my career, which I will not tell you about, but it involves some very, very attractive women. And then I end the show right here and now, talking to my children about how they want to lead their lives.
Nice.
And if I'm honest, I love last year's show, but if I'm honest, this year's show has more honesty and depth and says more interesting things as far as I'm concerned. And that's great when hopefully your shows become better and better.
Yeah.
And when you've got a good show, and when you've got a duff show, and I think it's worth coming to.
So this is the first run, and ultimately we'll go to Edinburgh.
This is the first run, yeah. Adelaide. Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. Adelaide was, for a lot of comics, people think Adelaide is a way to run material in for the big festival of Melbourne. But having come to Adelaide, Adelaide is a much, because the city get behind it, and I feel like I'm saying platitudes now, but because the city get behind Adelaide in a way that they get behind Edinburgh and the Edinburgh Festival. The population triples, so there's 250,000 people in Edinburgh. At the end of it, there's 750,000, all for the festival. And I feel that Adelaide really, it becomes a community and a city experience in a way that if you'd have to be a bit dim, but you could probably get around Melbourne and not realise that the Melbourne Comedy Festival is on. The city goes on without it. So Adelaide is fast becoming one of my most favourite festivals.
Yeah. And so how long since you've been to Edinburgh?
Since 2008.
Because I imagine kids would kind of put a stop to that. And
my kids ruined my life.
Career, everything.
In Adelaide, play so many festivals.
It's so hot, no one can.
Edinburgh is yeah.
It's expensive and it's a big trip.
My children were young; they were like 9 months and 2. My wife, I'll be honest, was not coping very well, and we had a dreadful time. And I copped some shit reviews because we were tired and we didn't want to be there. And so it'd be nice to go back. I always said I'll go back to England in triumph or in chains. And I hope I'm going back in triumph.
Nice.
So they're not coming with. Sorry, Judge. Do you remember the first joke you ever told on stage?
No, I remember the first ever Edinburgh I did, which was 1989. I shared a flat with Eddie Izzard, and I did a two-hander with Lee Evans. I always say,
never heard of him.
I'm glad I've
never heard of him.
Exactly. Yes, I've left those two losers behind. Dave, I would have got that out of you. I remember. I talk about some of the earlier things. I don't remember my first ever joke. I'll be honest with you. Do you?
I do remember my first joke, and I actually it's so shameful.
Are you proud of it?
No, it's so shameful. It involved the tagline, "Eaten more pussy than cervical cancer."
Nice.
Oh.
And hence the fact that I'm never going to tell it again.
Yeah, right. Well, what was your haircut your first gig?
I was working. I had a job at BOC, so I had very short hair.
Oh, nice.
And I was doing a job. It's all in my show, but I was doing a job in the day, and then I was doing gigs at night. So I was having to do all those sort of things of leaving my jacket on the chair when I was in this office, and people would think I was going off to a meeting. I actually went home to have a kip and get ready for. And then I'd come in the morning, and people would think, because my desk was still had a jacket on it, people think I'd got in early.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I was a bit of a twat when it come to being a
Good to see you've come so far. Right, we need to play a game with you. Your game is what?
No time.
No time.
No time.
You don't get a game. Sucked in.
That's all right.
You get to plug your show now, though.
Show is on here at 8:30. Here is in the Rhino Rooms. 8:30 to 9:30. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Good seats still available, and look forward to seeing you.
They're all good seats. Before we say goodbye to you, Dave Schmidt, quickly plug your show as well.
I am on at 9:15 at Gluttony in the Piglet. Lots of seats are still available, and I'm here till Saturday. So I'd love to see anyone from Adelaide who want to come down and check out the show.
Excellent
It's called
work.
Smith, Pray Love.
Nice. We have to go because time is wasting. So thanks to everyone who helped out on the show today. Tomorrow, Tommy Dassalo, Geraldine Quinn, Susan Dredge, Peter Marino, and Cal Wilson. That'll also be fun. And you can go to youtube.com/Festival Fishbowl to see all the past interviews we've done. Please thank Dave Schmidt and Jeff Green, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
Well done. You just made it through an episode of Festival Fishbowl. Well, get on the Facebook and Twitters and watch these episodes again and again on YouTube. Thanks for watching Festival Fishbowl. Suck a dick and good night. See you next time.